So this is a quick testimonial or sharing of experience from my friend, my I'm just going to call you my friend Chevonne. Uh
I
we
think
work
I'm more than that. I was a paying client, so
yes, but still a friend.
still a friend for sure.
And we spent time in 2023 for
Mhm.
the year.
For the whole year.
And maybe just tell us what was going on before you started, what was going on and why did you choose coaching?
Yeah, so I sought you out in a professional manner because I was at the point in my career where I knew I wanted a change, but I wasn't at all clear on what I wanted to do. So I've gone through a stage of work, leading, managing teams, being everything to everyone, and burnt out. And I stepped away from my job in academia, where I was a dean and overseeing multiple departments. And I took some time off, which is what I like to call my semi-retirement phase, and took 6 weeks off. I mean, not 6 weeks, 6 months off, and did not work. Tried to figure out what I wanted to do next and decided I wanted to go into corporate. But because I was so much in academia and had done so much in higher ed, making that jump to corporate was a little difficult. So I took a role for a higher educational institution where I was overseeing their training department. So not focusing as much on students, but really focusing more on developing leaders and doing training for incoming, like new onboarding employees and things like that. I took a role that I knew was going to be chaos. I knew it from the interview, but I also thought it would give me great experience to make the pivot to corporate, which it did. And after about no more than even a year and a half, I then pivoted into Citi, where I met you when you used to work there formerly. And the irony of that is I've been a people manager for years, manager of manager for years, and my pivot into Citi pivoted me into an individual contributor role. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And I got used to that. I got used to only worrying about me, not having to work myself to the bone. I made many adjustments in my life for the better. But after about a year of that, I started to get a little antsy. And that's pretty much where you came in. And I started searching out coaching and you is because I knew I wasn't really living up to my purpose and I wasn't sure what to do or how to fix that. And I was actually afraid of losing the peace and the sanity that I had regained in my life. And so I just really needed someone to help me try to figure out what was the direction where I want to go in my career. How do I want to pivot? How do I want to grow just in general and develop? And to walk with me through that journey. And that was you.
And again, it's to grow, to change, to explore more of your purpose and who you are and the work, but also again, like you say, not losing that sense of peace. So it's
Absolutely.
not doing it at the cost of what you had recovered to some
Correct.
extent.
Yep.
Yeah. And why me and not another coach at the time?
One of the biggest things that I loved about you was that you were also on this journey of growth and you were very transparent and upfront about it. It's like what you do in the Vitamin P podcast, how you talk about how you're learning, how you're developing, how you're expanding as a coach. You connect people to resources. You're so well read. And I love that. I said, what better person to help me on my development journey than a person who is constantly developing and lives by that? Like, there is no end in sight, it's constant growth and development. And so that was one of the things I mean, outside of familiarity, and I knew you and all your brilliance, but also it was that merger of the physical and the mental.
Mm,
You really do a great job of that, and that was one of the things I was really getting more connected and grounded and physically active, and using physical activity for my own sanity, like my own well-being. And so I wanted to make sure that that stayed a part of how I grew and developed as well. And so having someone to help make sense, help me really focus on sense making and making sense of where I wanted to go and who I was, and understanding that, and then keeping the things that were most important to me at the forefront in this growth journey. It's really something that you were great at, and not just great at as a coach and a teacher, but a person who was living it. And that's really what I wanted to do, like why I wanted to work with you.
yeah, I promise I'm normal. I'm just a human doing the same, trying my best every
Yeah,
day, right?
every day. That's all it is.
Yeah. And during our time then, what was the insights or what were some of the things that kind of stand out to you as maybe not milestones, but definitely things that kind of stand out as part of the journey?
Oh, I don't know if you remember our first session that you had, because you have, even though I'm based in the United States and you're based in Ireland, you still really focus on being out in nature and physically active. So our first session, I was actually at my happy place, which is out
Hmm.
walking by the
Yes.
water. And you say, you know, how do we want to connect? We connect where you're at, and I'll meet you where you're at. And one of my biggest challenges, I was starting to try to figure out how I wanted to grow my brand, um, develop my brand, who I was. And social media was always one of my biggest challenges. And I remember you talking to me, and you tried to, in the on the call, I'm walking, you're coaching, and you're trying to get a better understanding of what my challenges were. And you went to my Instagram and tried to add me, and he said you're private. How's anybody supposed to know you if your account is private? Make your account public. And I was like, oh my goodness, freaking out, like just to go in and hit the button, and you forced me to hit the button. And I did that. And then you said, now go ahead and make a post. I was like, what? I haven't thought about it. I don't know what I'm. You, and you said, stop thinking. I'll wait. Go ahead and make a post. And just in that moment, first session, I did it. And it was such a huge obstacle
Mm.
for a person who like to say I'm very introverted. I don't live my life on social media. I had made so many assumptions and attached who I was to so many false assumptions and about myself and social media. And you helped me reframe and overcome hurdles in that first moment. So when we talk about like some of the biggest challenges, social media wasn't my only challenge, but just trying to figure out who I was, who I wanted to be, how I wanted to grow, how I wanted to represent myself, and how I wanted to expand my network, um, to align better with my purpose, and figuring out what that was. I think that was my biggest challenge, but it started with that first session. Keep walking, stop walking, whatever you're doing, change your account to public and make a post. And it was so big for me.
Yeah. And it's never the thing, it's the thinking about the thing, right? And again,
Thinking about
to
the thing.
you or I now, looking back, it may seem small, but at the time, I mean, your body takes it as a big thing.
Yes, it was
And
huge.
I hope I didn't force you. I hope it was an invitation, right?
It was an invitation, and we talked about that, like
Yeah.
that push and pull and the force and helping. And that's one of the things you did even in that first session, is helping me to change my language and
Mm.
reframe my language about the idea of what I can choose to do and what opportunities I have to do, instead of the things that I'm pushed to do. And that, in that first moment, that language shift, that mindset shift, it just opened up so many different things for me.
And so some of the other kind of, I guess, things that we were going to work on together, some of the challenges that may have been ahead of us working together, were they solved during our time?
Yes. So let me again, development is ongoing, right? And we worked together for a full year. And I challenged myself because one of the things that I really wanted to do was to start to build out my business, my speaking career, and get paid. And so at the end of the year, I challenged myself. I said, I'm going to see you again, and I'm going to work with you again in 2024 in some capacity, but I can't do it, or I won't do it until I have outside money to pay for it. So that meant I need to get a speaking engagement that pays me. Whatever it is that I'm building out the business, I need to bring in external money that's going to pay me to continue to work with you. So I decided to do that. And even since we stopped formally coaching at the end of 2023, there's still been this growth, evolution, development. I've continued to get clearer. I still listen to the Vitamin P podcast and hear your voice and laugh with you and follow what things you're paying attention to and how you're developing. I hear the other people that you bring onto your podcast, and I learn from them and continue on my growth journey. So I would say, and the big thing is, now I'm trying to grow in multiple directions. So we decided at the end of last year that I'm in a VP position, and I'm going to move into an SVP position. So I've been actively seeking out SVP positions this year, but I'm also growing my personal business on the outside and trying to figure out what that is and how I can grow in, my local community, start to be more of a thought leader. And so all of these things are happening simultaneously, which would usually freak me out. And because we go back to where I was before I started the coaching, and I was in a state of, I was so at peace and fearful of losing the peace.
Yeah.
And even though I've been ramping up in both sides of my work life, I still start every morning walking by the water. I still focus on myself. I still get enough sleep. If I have to work late, I'm making adjustments in the morning. Like, I developed so many great habits and boundaries that even though I'm pushing myself and expanding what I even thought my own capabilities were, I'm not losing myself. I'm not losing my peace. My family is still my utmost priority. I still go on a lot of trips. I still do a lot of happy hours. And I'm really living a well balanced life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So growth and peace, not mutually exclusive.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
how
I
would you
wasn't
explain?
convinced of that. Yeah, I wasn't
Sorry?
convinced of that. I said I wasn't convinced of that,
Yeah.
that was possible at the beginning,
Yeah.
but I was by the end. I knew it. I knew it was possible. And that's something that you really helped me instill. And it's carried over even beyond us working together this year.
And I mean, there's trees growing for you, Chevonne, as part of working together. I buy everyone a tree, right? So I mean, it's the same. It's that growth isn't this thing that's defined by when coaching is on. It's a forever thing. Growth will come from the seeds that we planted during that time. And it's
Absolutely.
visually represented in the tree that's actually growing for you somewhere,
I
right?
know.
So
And how
it's
cool is that? That's another benefit of working with you, is that there is a tree planted in my honor somewhere in the world and growing. And
yes,
I love that.
yes. How would you explain how we work together?
Okay, let's talk about this. Because if anyone listens to your podcast and hears your train of thought and senses how you think, that is exactly how we work together. We always started off a session and you're asking me, how I'm doing, like connecting in with me, trying to figure out where I'm at, what should we focus on for the day, and then we go down that, we explore that. But while we're exploring, you're also giving me things that you've been learning from your own growth journey that can help me at the right time. And I'm telling you how I've been developing and how I've been stretching. And you're like, oh, that's good. I'm going to take that and then pay it forward in a sense, or share it with someone else who also needs that message. And so it's just this really interesting symbiotic relationship that doesn't just happen between you and I as coach and coachee, but it's happening between your coaching community, those people who you're coaching, the people who are coaching you. And it's this really awesome connection that happens, and a community that starts with a one-on-one conversation. And so when you're asking me like how we work together, I think that's the beauty of it, that I felt like I was connected to your other clients, even though if I didn't know their names, didn't know who they are, I felt like I was connected to your coach or your supervisors or the people, or even I'm delving into the books that you're reading, and we're passing that back and forth. And it's just such a interesting way to work and just grow and develop together.
Yeah. It's alive, right?
It
Because
is.
we're both living it and we're experiencing it together. And I mean, when we come together, I try and make it organic. It's
Mm-hmm.
this living little thing that comes between us, and let's see what emerges from it. It sounds like that's how
Absolutely.
you experienced it.
Absolutely. I don't know if that's how I was supposed to experience, but that really was my experience. And it's just such an interesting community and a connection and a grounding to be a part of.
Oh, it's beautiful. That makes me, I'm getting shivers, like goosebumps all over. That's beautiful. I think I've hit on what my work is. Uh, oh my. Um, who would you recommend works with me?
I think anyone who is really trying to become more grounded and grow. Like, you have to be in a state where growth is is the path that you're on right now. It's not just people coming to you to say, "Hey, that something's wrong. Give me an idea of how to fix it." It's really not about fixing. It's really about that continual development, and someone who is looking to be excited by the journey and willing to stretch themselves, because you're going to make them you're going to
Horse.
give them the opportunity to stretch. So when you're talking about who works, it's really someone who is trying to grow as a leader. And how do they not only just influence the people who are directly in front of them and connected to them, but try to expand that connection and influence people, places, things, energies around them to affect us all and really help the world become a better the world become a better place, because you were able to lead in that space. Like, really, that, I mean, it's that big. No matter where you're starting on your journey, when you tap into that connection, when you tap into vitamin P coaching, when you tap into that community, that's really what it becomes, because you help people understand that the world is so much bigger than them and their situation, and how can we think more broadly and be more connected and leave it in such a better place than when we started. And so that's what I think, if someone's looking to work with you, no matter if it's from the leadership development standpoint, no matter if it's from how can I grow and be more connected in my energies, my physical state, and understanding, if they work with you, it's not just about the mental, it's about the physical. It Because how we breathe, how our heart rate, like, there's so many different things that affect who we are and how we can show up, not just for ourselves and our loved ones, but for others. And I think that's a big place, and a big part of what you do and makes your coaching so unique.
Beautiful. Anything else you'd add?
You're worth every penny, cent, quid, whatever the denomination is in whatever global country your clients will soon be in. it, it's transformational. It really changed my life. It changed my relationships that I have with others around me by that growth and development and transformation. And I continue to pay it forward. So again, anyone who worked with you will do the same, and we can all be in this great symbiotic community of, vitamin P coachees. Whatever you're going to call your groupies, you figure out what you're calling your
I need to come up
groupies.
with a name for that.
Yes, you do.
Love it. I need a marketing person. If there's anyone watching this, please let me know what I should call this.
Right.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chevonne. And I mean, I say this to you often, and I know I said it during our time together as well. I mean, it was an honor to walk with you then and walk with you still. It means a
Still,
lot to me.
still,
It means a lot
you're
to me.
you're
Thank you.
not done with me.
Thank you.
Thanks.